What's up, everybody, and welcome into the Hoops Betting Hour, my show. I'm the big man on canvas. It's March Madness. It's not officially the tournament yet, but it's March. It's time to get going. It's time to get raring and ready to go. I'm back. I'm back on the airwaves, which might be dangerous, but I'm back. And I got my trusty co-host here. You've seen us all together before. It's Donnie Wright. Said, Donnie, we're back doing a show together.
Yeah, don't change the dial. Yeah.
How are you,
Don't
buddy?
change it. I'm feeling good. I am rested and ready. And the best part about this show is it's a sprint for us, Jeff. We don't need a marathon here. We don't need to talk about 2022, 2023. We are going to give you 1 month max effort here, getting you ready for the March Madness tournament. It's going to be a lot of fun. And yes, this is the Hoops Betting Hour with Jeff Nadu, powered by Pickswise and presented by FanDuel Sportsbooks. A lot of interesting stuff, Jeff. And I love to host this with you. I love to do content. But the big part about this is explain to the good people out there what this show is actually going to be about.
Yeah, I'm really excited because, we kind of I created a partnership with Pickswise, really great company. And it came to me, they said, your strength is college basketball. You want to do a show every day. Who do you think works well with you? Who do you think you can get on to do it? Now, again, it was getting people on to do it. It's an everyday thing. But Donnie and I knew he was the right guy. He had to be the guy because we worked before. But every day we're going to come on here. We're going to talk about what went on. We're going to talk about games. We're going to give out picks, previews, breakdowns, all sorts of different stuff, futures. Today, Donnie, we got a conference tournament starting. Every single day we'll preview those conference tournaments coming out, get you ready for them, get you prepared. And then once the big dance comes, it's previewing the big tourney.
No, and that's the best part about it, because even when we were starting to look at the show, what we could do, we thought it was a really nice touch for us to get in a week ahead of time, because the show is designed for March Madness. Is it March right now? Technically, yes, but we know Selection Sunday is this Sunday. We want you to be able to fill out those brackets and be precise and win your office pools and have a lot of fun. So by the time you have to fill out the brackets, Chef, they're not going back. They're saying the big man got me set and ready for this conference basketball tournament schedule and March Madness. Now it's time to win my pool. I can't wait to get started and get excited here, Jeff. But as we like to talk and head into it, me and Jeff are big on some recaps here where we can say what happened and how can it pertain to the future. Even though it didn't happen this weekend, big man, if we take a look, Colin Gillespie goes down for Villanova. They score 52 against Providence. Ooh, man.
Yeah, I took a lot of crap on Twitter for a comment I made.
You did.
About, I don't think they should be a favorite against anyone in this conference. I mean, maybe DePaul. That's about it. But the fact that they were 4-point favorites with him out, look, Villanova, I know Villanova. This is a team that runs on Gillespie. Gillespie has to be healthy. They don't have much depth it is. And the problem that Jay Wright has, and the problem, Donnie, they're going to have in the NCAA tournament, they don't have any depth. Jay Wright has struggled with creating success for some of these five-star kids. And now when they really need backups, they need the depth. They need to go to somebody else. They don't have it. And they're paying for it now, and I think Jay knows that. I'm concerned about Villanova. I really am, because you need that maestro to run the point. You need the conductor, if you will, Dottie. They're not going to have that. And he is so integral to what they do just because they don't really have anybody else. I didn't understand why they were a favorite over the weekend, and it showed why. They lost the game.
It's an interesting point you bring up, because you never want to see injuries, especially to your floor general, which we know he is. But the good part about it, if there is any silver lining, Jeff, for Villanova, you got a couple games under your belt to try to work it out before you get to March Madness. They were the prohibitive favorite in the Big East Conference tournament, which gets underway this weekend. No longer the case. But if you're Jay Wright, how do you act on this, Jeff? Like, are we running multiple point guards in here to see who can do it? But the good part about it is this didn't happen in the tournament during a game. You have prep time to get ready, and that should help. So my question to you here, as we're always looking down, we'll take a look at the actual conference futures here on FanDuel in just a little bit. But Villanova now dropping down to like a 25-1 here at FanDuel for a future. Is that something you'd be interested in, or you just need to see a little bit more on Villanova here?
I just don't know where you go with it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you can go out off the street and pick somebody up to be your point guard. You just have what you have at this point. Villanova still has, Jermaine Samuels and Robinson Earl, but you got to have somebody get the ball to those guys, Donnie. It's almost like being in a horse race and not having a horse. You got to have a horse. You got to have someone to ride the horse. You don't have all that stuff. You don't have all that stuff right now. So I have no interest in Villanova. At 25-1? No.
By the way,
I would be way more for that.
We're a few minutes into the show. We can go all day on these topics, so get ready over the next 30 days here as we bring this content directly to you. I mean, I'm excited. People like this stuff.
Yeah, you need this. We needed this, and I'm glad we have it. I'm glad we have an avenue. And Donnie, we have. I just want to talk for one moment.
Go.
I'm so glad we have this to do. We have stuff to talk about. Yeah. Donnie, where were we 1 year last year?
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness!
Do you know where we were? I'm gonna tell you where we were. 1 year ago, we didn't know what the word coronavirus was. No. We didn't know what we'd have. And over the next week, a year ago today, the world stopped. I'm just so glad that we have something to talk about. I don't want to hear about it's in one location or it's on Monday. Listen, we have something, and that's all that matters. We're going to have it. Come hell or high water, we have it. So.
No, you're
exactly. I'm happy about
that too. And by the way, we don't ask for much on this. And you see, we're partnered here with Pickswise doing the show. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. This is the spot to find the content. You know what the best part about exclusivity is? If you want big man's knowledge and information on video, there's two things we wanted to make happen. Because when people see that it's at 9 a.m. Eastern time, big man, I don't even get up. It's way too early for me. That's the whole point of it. So when you do get up, if you're not here watching live, this content is delivered directly to you. We also could have did this, Jeff. 6 p.m. at night, let's go live and talk about the games. Oh, I love it, big man. But if you miss that show and you don't get off of work till 7:30 or 8, you couldn't get anything in. You couldn't hear the information. This show is designed that when you wake up, watch it with us. If you can't and you slept in, you know what, Jeff? Hit the play button. We're here.
Listen, get yourself a trusty cup of coffee, maybe a Danish. Maybe, whatever you eat.
A little Schviadel, maybe.
A little Schviadel, a Bialy. Hang out with us. Cheers.
Now, good stuff. A lot of people checking us out, Jeff, in the chat box. Samon's here. Johnny U's in here. Our guy Lucky's in here. Josh, Akbar, welcome in. Naeem's also here. So a lot of good friends, a lot of good names. Let's flip it over here a little bit, Jeff, to the Big Ten here. Michigan State, Tom Izzo, they say February, Izzo, April, all that good stuff. When it's time to when it's time to play basketball in the Big Ten, Michigan State turns it on. 3 big wins down the stretch. Now it looks like they're going to get into the tournament. Forget about winning the Big Ten tournament or heading into it. It's so Michigan State to be they're out of it. And Tom Izzo says, not so fast.
Yeah, it's what he does, man. I mean, why would you? And look, long term, I don't know if they'll even win a game. But again, they're in. They don't have to win the Big Ten tournament now. I think they're in. Now, obviously, they're going to want to go win the Big Ten tournament, so they don't have to worry about it. That's the goal. When you're a team like Michigan State or you're on the bubble, you never leave it up to anybody, Donnie, right? You don't ever say it's like being a boxer. You don't want it to go to the judges because God knows what they're thinking. You want to knock the guy out, so you don't got to worry about that. Same with Michigan State. I think they're in. I don't think you can keep them out with how big a program they are and that kind of thing, but yeah, really impressive stuff. Aaron Henry down the stretch was awesome for them. They used 16,000 different lineups, but they seemed to figure on one, and they seemed to have the core group. And I was curious about what they would do. I don't know. I didn't know if they had a point guard, but you know what, Donnie? They share the ball. They make a lot of good passes. They take a lot of good shots. They play pretty good defense and rebound the ball. Credit to Tom Izzo. Cream usually rises to the top. Izzo did.
Now, we think they're going to get in the tournament, but again, it's not exact right now because we have a whole week to play out. Teams can win, teams to lose. Some teams can steal some auto bids that they weren't actually going to have. So we'll see how it plays out as it goes down the stretch. But I do want to take a look also as we move on. One of the teams that you've loved all year long, and this is dating back a couple years, this team is built and ready to win and storming up the list here as we take a look at futures with FanDuel Sportsbook. They are now sitting at 55-1, Jeff. That's your boys Loyola Chicago out here.
Listen, people laughed at me a few months ago. I gave them out. I loved Loyola. I said, this team can win the whole thing. I think they're that good. They're better than that team that went to the Final Four in 2018. Remember that group, Donnie? Sister Jean, we met all those kids.
Yep.
A couple of those kids are still there. Cameron Crutwig's a senior now. Got a chip on his shoulder. He's got big shoulders. He's got a chip on his shoulder. He's ready to go. Listen, I look at them and I don't see many flaws. I think they're an elite defensive team. We've seen that all year. They're really well coached. They've got great guard play. The big is terrific. He's a good passing big man. Everything they do is just at a high level. Donnie, they were way higher, 200-300-1.
Yes,
I think they're really legitimate. Now, here's my concern, Donnie. And you know what? If this happens, I'm going to be really sick to my stomach. They're an 8 seed, right? If you put them in the Gonzaga bracket, you're really going to
come on now. You know they're going to do that, Jeff. You know they are doing
I'm just playing. Like, seriously, give me any other bracket but that one. Give me the Illinois or Michigan bracket. I'll even take the Baylor bracket. You're going to give me the one win, and then you're going to make them fake Gonzaga? Wouldn't that be serendipity? That would be brutal.
Here's the thing also, because we talk about the NCAA tournament with money. Everybody wants to make money. Loyola is not in the middle of America. Loyola, Chicago, huge market. Let them burn. That's a fun story going through, because I think a lot of the things get lost that we'll talk about also a little bit later is, the common favorite. Oh, my God, if it's not Duke, I'm not watching. These teams play really good basketball, and the fun part about it is the style of basketball Loyola Chicago brings out of the MVC. They can knock off top teams when they're playing their A game, and they've been playing their A game for quite a few times, and you've said it all along all season, Jeff. This is a team to watch out for. They're better than the Final Four run that they had. We'll see how it plays out, but if there's one indicator about people laying wagers and getting down, it's having, Loyola real high in odds, now dipping all the way down. That's a sign of respect here coming into the tournament.
Well, here, and Vince, and shout out to Van Sawyer in the chat, he's saying Illinois Loyola would play well in the media. Maybe they're thinking like that.
Sister Jean again. We got to run another Sister Jean. We ate that up, man. We ate that up.
And it's the big boy school in Illinois against the little team in Illinois.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And listen, how many times you're going to hear that week if Illinois plays Loyola, Illinois is going to kill Loyola.
Come on, put UC. I'd rather watch UCLA than Loyola. Trust me on this. You'll enjoy the MVC action. And by the way, we'll talk about it also a little bit later. They did win the conference as well, so we don't have to sweat out March Madness for them on Sunday. Selection Sunday. Oh my gosh, are they going to get in? Are they going to get knocked out? Nope. They already punched their ticket in. Now, here's another team I want to talk about. We talked a little Big Ten. Let's get back to the Big Ten here. Illinois, hot down the stretch. And to me, over the past couple weeks, sort of brushed a little bit to the side, right? So, hey, talent's there. Hey, maybe we'll see what they have. They are stamping their point here to get to March Madness, a hot run down the stretch. Are they going to be a team we really have to deal with in March Madness? Are they as real as what we've seen, knocking off a couple top 5 teams over the last couple weeks, big man?
Yeah, I mean, what they've done is impressive, man. I mean, you got to give Underwood credit. I mean, the last couple of games without DeSumo. I mean, you beat Michigan. I think the problem that you have with those games is the Michigan game is, I mean, Michigan was locked in. They're locked into the 1 seed. I just don't think they care that much. But yeah, I mean, Illinois has been very solid all year. My issue with them and my concern all year has been, when it matters most and you have to win a couple of games in a row, can you get other kids to step up consecutively? So can you get, DeSumo's going to bring it, Colburn's going to bring it, but can you get Adam Miller to step up? Curbelo, Frazier, Bazanishvili, those kids, the kind of the ancillary figures, can you get them to play well? Because I don't think they can win if just Coburn and DeSumo play well. If you get 22 and 19 from them, you got to get someone else. You got to get 1 or 2 others. I don't know if they can do that. I've noticed some of these kids for the Illinois, they turn the ball over when the lights get too bright. And you look at, Donnie, their turnover percentage. I mean, they're still I think high 160s as far as turnover percentage. They turn the ball over a lot. That's concerning in a game, in a tournament where you have to win a couple of games in a row. I don't put them on the same mystique as they don't seem I don't consider them a 1 seed to me. They don't seem that good, but Illinois is legit and they have one of the best players in the country. I just think they're going to need more than that. I don't know how well-rounded they are as a team, but you got to give them the credit for what they've done. For most of January and February, they were terrific.
Yeah, if you take a look here also, Jeff, when you talk about maybe you don't think they're a 1 seed, they're being bet like a 1 seed. Take a look live right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook, Jeff. The top 4 teams with odds in March Madness heading into it: Gonzaga plus 250, Baylor plus 330, Michigan plus 420, Illinois 10-1 coming in with the 4th odds in the tournament here. So a lot of people's reactionary too, Jeff, because we take a look. It's not, you want to take the whole body of work. You also want to take a little bit, say, hey, they're hot coming into the tournament, but it's also important to remember what some of these odds numbers come in. 10-1 shot to win the big dance. Now, guys, you're watching right now. Oh my God, the boys are back together. What's going on here? Yep. Hoops Betting Hour with Jeff Nadu, powered by Pickswise, and obviously also FanDuel Sportsbook as well. So we're happy to be here bringing some content. Now, the tournament, Jeff, doesn't start till next week. And you say, hey, the big boys are playing this week, but teams have already punched their ticket, sitting back, smoking some cigars. Those 4 teams, Jeff: Winthrop out of the Big South, Loyola, as we just talked about, out of the MVC. Liberty from the A-Sun, and what a great job they did this year after losing so much talent last year to repeat as conference champions. And then we take a look this year. How about Morehead State knocking off Belmont? And by the way, before we get into it, I always root for Belmont. I love the way they play basketball, and it's a shame where in a smaller conference like that, you literally, Jeff, have to run the table or you don't get in. It's not a two-bid league. It's a shame, but hey, credit to Morehead State playing a fantastic final and punching their ticket as well.
Yeah, I want to hit on two of those teams. You talked about Liberty. What a job by Richie McKay. I mean, this is impressive. I mean, look, the Atlantic Sun wasn't great this year. You didn't have to worry about Bellarmine, which listen, don't get me started, Donnie, on that ridiculous 4-year rule crap. That's the dumbest rule in.
It doesn't even make sense. It should be the opposite, right? If you're Division I and drop down to Division II and you still have Division I athletes, I don't understand.
Why are you knocking a team that wants to become better, possibly be better for you? Why are you doing that? It makes no sense to me. But yeah, Liberty, you lose literally 4 out of your 5 starters last year. Didn't matter. Liberty came right back, took care of business. And look, Liberty got a pretty good deal, Donnie. Bellarmine wasn't eligible. Neither was North Alabama with Tony Puyol. They weren't eligible either. Yeah. So yesterday's game meant nothing. Lipscomb wasn't as good as they normally are. So, Liberty had a good conference to be in, but really a terrific job. Great defensively. Did really well a year. But Morehead, Donnie, as well. I mean, have you watched Morehead? I mean, they are really impressive. Yeah. I mean, they destroyed Belmont. Belmont was 26-3 this year. They destroyed that conference. I personally, Donnie, bet Belmont. I laid 120, and I said, I think they're way better than everyone in this conference. I liked Morehead, but I just thought when Muszynski was in there, it wasn't going to matter. It wasn't even close. They ran up and down. They did whatever they wanted offensively. They're one of the only teams in that conference that play defense. And the kid, Janai Broome, Remember Kenny Fareed, Donnie, played at Morehead State?
Yes, correct. Absolutely.
Kenny Fareed had a very good career in the NBA. Kind of a big man, wasn't a superstar, but a good, solid player for a team like the Denver Nuggets. I think Janai Broome, the freshman, he is going to make a lot of money at the next level. Really an interesting kid. And I'll tell you, Donnie, this is really lame and corny, but I'm going to bring it up. Did you watch the end of the game? I'm going to guess you didn't.
I did not, no.
The game was already decided. The time's running out. The time ends. You know what Janai Broome does? Most kids, freshmen, what are they going to do? Run over and celebrate with the kids, right? With the team and the coaches.
Selfies. Mm-hmm.
Janai Broome ran over to the Belmont players and told them great game. Like, you don't see that anymore. Like that is something. If I'm a GM in the NBA, I'm salivating over. He's a good kid. He's a great player. I want that kid to do well. He is terrific. Watch out for Morehead, Donnie, because they defend. You got good, solid guard play, and Broome is a tough matchup. Like Morehead a lot.
Yeah, that was a tough one there heading down the stretch because we've seen it a couple years ago as well. Nick Muszynski banged up at the wrong times, Jeff. Look, I know he played, but we know he wasn't 100%. If that kid is such a force, to have it in that type of conference as a mid-major, to have a back-to-the-basket guy that can dominate inside and outside, because we know how well Belmont can shoot from three-point range. It just didn't work. And also, how about at the half? Because we always like to talk about like betting situations that people get into. How many people, Jeff, probably hit the lever at the half? Said, no way Belmont loses this game. And obviously, you saw the way it play out. Morehead was fantastic in the second half.
And one other thing, a lot of people don't realize what Preston Spradlin, the coach, what he was inheriting there. Yeah. Donnie, for anyone who doesn't know, Morehead State was bad. Okay, Sean Woods had off-the-court problems. He was hitting players, things like that. That's not a job anybody wanted. Spradlin come in, takes it, and now look. I mean, really incredible stuff. I want to quickly comment, Donnie, on Jacob Powell's comment. Says he has UConn at a big price. Tell me what they are offended right now. I'd be curious.
To win the tournament?
Yeah. UConn is a team that I think
55-1, Jeff, currently right now at the FanDuel Sportsbook.
Yeah, he got a great price, and credit to him for doing it. I mean, with Book Night back, they're a totally different team. Okay, right. It's like the Sixers in 2000, 2001 when they didn't have Iverson in certain games. It's like, well, they're not really going to win games with this group. When you get Book Night back, he makes everybody better. He makes everybody just terrific. and he's a terrific player. The 80-1's a great price. Even a 55-1, that's a very good price. I think they're the favorites to win the Big East after the Gillespie.
After the Gillespie injury, you're right. And they'll also talk about value as we talk about going through the season. If good players say big chunk, a lot of people just look at that final record. Well, they weren't that good this year. You have to look at the counterparts coming into it, because if you take a look at that aspect, Colin Gillespie no longer obviously going to play in the tournament. It's not Villanova's entire package you're looking at. It's now going forward without Gillespie. Same thing, obviously, with UConn as well here. Now, this is the part that
the other way around.
Exactly. 7 days until Selection Sunday. Today we're doing a show here at Monday. We'll continue all through the week, but Sunday is when the teams get picked for the tournament, and then we're off and running. So we want to talk about Bubble Watch, which is going to change each and every day. Does this loss affect the team? Does this win affect the team? This team was going to get an at-large bid, and now they lost in their tournament, so now a new automatic bid who wasn't going to be there is now going to be there. A lot of fun. Just take a look at ESPN, like bracketology, stuff like that, Jeff. I want to get to it here and talk about. If we look at the last four in and the last four out is always my favorite, and I love Mountain West Conference basketball. Last four in, Jeff. Colorado State, Boise State, Drake, and Xavier. Last four out, Utah State, Syracuse, St. Louis, and Seton Hall. Now, before I get your aspects on what you think about that, the interesting caveat here, if you look
By
at
the way, hearing the name Seton Hall makes me sick physically.
18-0, Jeff. Does 18-0 runs mean anything to you? No?
I hate that team. Hate them. And it's so sick because I have loved Seton Hall for many years.
Yes, you have.
It just really sickens me that Kevin Willard's the coach. It really does, because they would be so good. They would have such good teams if he weren't the coach. But again, maybe they wouldn't have him if he were the coach. But on the court, he is just so poor. I mean, it really sickens me. They should be so much better. But go on.
No, but it should be fun. Here's the interesting thing, because we're talking about a COVID-19 season where some teams, like when we talk about the MAC conference just a few moments, the Metro Atlantic, like some teams have played like 15 games, some have played 25 games. There's a huge disparity of how these teams are coming down the stretch. We saw St. Louis with a huge miss during the season. Not of we didn't win games, is you're off for a month. You can't pad your stats. So you got to take a look at a different equation at the end of the season. The A-10 did something really interesting, and I saw you on Twitter comment about it, which a lot of people probably said, well, wait a second, don't they just play the championship the day after, like the semifinals or the quarterfinals end up? Not correct. They're going to play a week later. But I thought the interesting point here was, Jeff, is now that St. Louis is out of the tournament and they lost, they're trying to line up games this week to try to pad like a quad one or a quad two victory. Yes. They're trying to get games this week. The coach, absolutely true, where they're allowed to go out and maybe find, let's just say, St. Louis and Duke on a Wednesday night to try to pad the stats. It's so interesting, and it's out. Like, was the A-10 a genius in thinking about this? Saying, hey, we'll take the week off if we want to get maybe another bid in our league outside of VCU, St. Bonaventure. St. Louis is on the border. Maybe they can schedule an extra game that puts them over the top. It's just so interesting this year, Jeff, and a lot of stuff that we haven't seen. I got to tell you, I don't understand why they're doing it this way. Why did you have the tournament in Richmond or wherever? Yeah, it doesn't. You're right. Speak on it. It doesn't make any sense. Maybe this was their mad plan right here. I don't know.
But wasn't the goal of all this COVID stuff to limit travel? So now you're going to go back to Ole in New York, sit there for a couple of days.
And it's a week. The kids can go out to get infected. Like, why wouldn't you just get it done with? Because if you did go to Richmond, your point is well taken. Somebody tests positive. You have a while. Now you're going to say, we're going to wait a week and there's a chance that we get it. So if somebody does test next weekend, are they out for the NCAA tour? That's craziness.
If you're Mark Schmidt or Mike, the coach of VCU, what do you I'm sickened. I'm like, no one leave your room. None of you. Stay here. Don't go nowhere. We need all of you. But
they can't get to Olean. It's hard to get to Olean anyway, but I hear your point.
Right.
Sure.
But then it's like, okay, so we'll go back home. We'll stay there for a couple of days. Then we're going somewhere totally different. Like the finals in Dayton, I believe.
Yes. And I see a comment. Johnny Hughes says, no, the A-10 isn't genius. They took a week off for TV. What, they weren't going to play on TV yesterday? What's that mean?
That's I don't know what that argument even is. But yeah, I mean, listen, it just doesn't make any sense. Every other conference plays. I mean, even actually a few others have done it, like Horizon League. I think they last played Monday. What is the goal? Like, why are we doing these conferences so early? And then there's all this time off.
I don't
Why
know,
are we doing
but
that?
maybe it benefits St. Louis. But looking at these teams, Jeff, here as like the last four, and I have an affinity, as I said, to the Mountain West. I love the way Colorado State plays. I love Boise State, an open, flowing game. I love Utah State. The inside-outside Nemish Keita, one of the more fun big men to watch across the country, big men to watch across the country. But if I ask you right now, because let's concentrate not on the last four in. Let's take a look at the teams with bubble runs, because we've seen St. John's coming down the stretch, an immensely talented team in the Big East. Now Villanova might take a step back. Can they advance? Ole Miss, SMU, Memphis, who yesterday played incredibly hard against Houston. At the buzzer, a half-court shot goes in. They take a lose. And the problem is you don't really get bonus points for like a close loss. Like that would have been a monster victory for Memphis to pull out. So if we look at these 8 teams, Jeff, Utah State, Syracuse, St. Louis, Seton Hall, Memphis, SMU, Ole Miss, and St. John's, who can sneak in the tournament? Who really needs this last week here?
Yeah, I've always kind of maintained, like, I think we put way too much time into bubble teams, Donnie. Like,
we
at
do.
the end of the day, like, do any of these teams ever? Like,
yes, that's always it. You're right. You're right.
What? What are you talking about?
They deserve to be in there. What are you, crazy?
Okay. Syracuse, remember them like 10 years ago? It's like, well, yeah, I guess.
George Mason, Jim Larinaga. Do you remember that?
Yeah, they were a bubble team. But yeah, as far as the Mountain West is going to decide a lot this week, because Donnie, you really don't see there being a ton of move here. But the Mountain West is going to play themselves into the tournament with a win or two. Someone's going to play themselves out, because there are 2 or 3 bubble teams from the Mountain West. Seton Hall is out. Unless I think they win the tournament, I think.
Now, are you just angry at them and you want to see them out, or is this legitimate?
I think you can make a case that St. John's is more deserving than they are. St. John's.
I like the way St. John's came down the stretch. I think they're a talented team, and I watched them with Colin Gillespie playing absolutely dominate Villanova when they were high rolling, so they have the capabilities.
Right, and I mean, I just look at St. John's. I mean, they played terribly towards the end of the season. I think Memphis continues to make an interesting push. I mean, that was such a tough loss yesterday. I will say, I don't know how you defend that final play any better. I mean, the kid just made the shot. I mean, there's nothing you could do there. I don't know if they'd have won the game anyway. Listen, I had Memphis, Donnie, and I'm thinking to myself, are they really going to go to overtime in this game? Because I don't know if you saw, but it was like an offensive rebound. Memphis hits a 3. They don't foul Memphis for some reason. By the way, if that's a 3-point situation there, you foul Memphis. They missed 10 free throws. They're one of the worst rushing teams in America. Foul them there. What are you doing?
Old school. That old school basketball of let's just play it out and see what happens is ridiculous, because if you foul, you win the game. If you don't foul, there's a chance you don't win the game. I never understand that.
It's situational, Donnie. You do your homework. If a team can't make 3-pointers, you don't foul.
Thank you.
It's like the 1 point, Donnie, or Dick Vitale one time. Kentucky was like 330th in the country in 3-point percentage. Yes, you definitely foul, says Dick Vitale. No, you don't. Play it out. In their case, Memphis can't make free throws. Foul them. But yeah, as far as team, I don't know. Memphis is really interesting. I mean, they have – I'll make this case right now. As far as athleticism, all that kind of stuff, Memphis is a top 10 team. When you look at the rotations, they have some of the best athletes in the country. It's just everything else that actually matters they're not great in. They don't have a point guard, that kind of thing. But, yeah, I like Memphis. I would love to see them kind of play their way in. But, is Drake in, Donnie? I don't think they're in by any means.
Yeah, it's interesting because we have bleeding hearts for the that conference and mid majors, and they should get in. But when you look at their play because they get out to that big lead in the season, playing unbelievable basketball and covering lines as well on top of it, and then they sort of lose a player or two, and they head down the stretch. I would like to still see them in. If you're asking me something like, would you rather have Ole Miss or Drake? And give me Drake all day.
The problem that Drake has, Donnie, is, as you said, they didn't lose until February 7th.
Correct.
But during that February 7th run, until then, I mean, they have no good wins. I mean, they didn't play anybody. And it sucks. Kansas State, when you schedule that game, you think Kansas State, that's a Big 12 team. They're generally decent. Kansas State was terrible this year.
Yeah.
Air Force. There's no good wins here.
Yeah, no longer Frank Martin in the Octagon of Doom up there for Kansas State. So.
And what about also, they did have players out. Hopefully the committee puts that into perspective. 2 of their best players are out. That sucks. I would definitely rather see Drake than, Syracuse or Seton Hall. No offense, Seton Hall. Get the hell out of here.
No, I agree with you there. By the way, when we head towards March Madness, people always talk about like, hey, where can I get in? FanDuel, where can I, have a pool to fill out? How about this context Pickswise has for you? And check this out, Jeff, because you know what? You're included in this. The Pickswise Capper Contest is a winner-take-all event that will be taking place throughout the March Madness tournament. 9 experts will give out their best bets each and every day of the tournament. The expert with the most profit at the end will win a $10,000 cash prize. The tournament features John Rothstein, Rashard Phillips, Megan making money from FanDuel Sportsbook, and also my compadre right here, Jeff Nadu. There's currently 1 spot available, and Pickswise is running the contest to fill the remaining spot. And guess what? People out there watching, it could be you. To enter, head over to the Pickswise Twitter account, retweet the contest, and reply with why you want to win a spot. Yes, it's that simple. There's also a link to the description below right here. Now, Jeff, you are a man of your word. You've taken people down going in head-to-head contests, 10,000 on the table, which again, I hope you're eligible for the 10,000 because we can split that up and have some fun with it. But I'm looking for you to be a headliner here. And this show, the Hoops Betting Hour, is going to be that vehicle that drives home that W, Jeff.
Yeah, it would be a real shame if I won this, wouldn't it?
It's all rigged. He didn't have those plays. I saw Jeff's picks. That wasn't correct. Nope. It's all on tape right here. We can't get around.
On campus stole those picks from someone else. So yeah, listen, get in the contest. I urge you to do it because, there's a lot of people out there love me. They hate me, whatever. Here's your opportunity. Maybe you'll beat me. Maybe you can put that on your mantle every night and drink your brandy to it. I beat the big man in that Pickswise FanDuel or Pickswise Capper contest. You got to do it. It's a great thing, too. All you got to do is retweet and give a couple pointers on why you should be in. Hey, maybe you're a better handicapper than me. Maybe you're better than John Rothstein. I don't know. I know John Rothstein will beat you in the John Rothsteinisms category because nobody can beat him in that. But, yeah, a lot of people in that. I'm in that. And it's only, 9, 10 people? So, yeah. You don't got to beat that many people.
By the way, if you beat John Rothstein, he needs to give you one of those Twitter monikers, Jeff. The big man on campus, always ready. Like, we got to come up with a moniker that if you finish ahead of him, that really needs to happen. But it's a great contest. And if you guys are just watching for the first time right now, hey, look, Jeff and Donnie are back together. We're going to be doing this all March Madness. But the best thing about it, as I continually say, we do the show early. So you are going to, a lot of people right now watching are going to be on replay. You can still hit that subscribe button. You can still comment in the chat box. Big man's going to be running through here. Any questions that you have, put them right there in the comments below, or even if you're talking here with us live, more than happy to go over it, have some fun, and carry you guys through here into March Madness. Now, as we say March Madness, again, we're Selection Sunday, still a week away. We are prepping and priming, getting ready to go. But the Metro Atlantic Tournament is getting underway tonight in Atlantic City. Boardwalk Hall. Would have loved the fact to be down there, catch a few games, because these conferences are near and dear to our heart. Maybe a lot of people don't watch Monmouth, Iona, Marist, but we certainly do as well. They get underway tonight, Jeff. We don't have to get into depth with this because we have all week to talk. And again, it's a one-bid league. You have to win the tournament. Iona, usually the favorite of the Tim Cluess over the past couple of years. Rick Pitino steps in. Still a really good Iona team. Give a quick little prep and preview here for the MAC tournament. Boardwalk Hall, Atlantic City.
Yeah, shout out to Atlantic City, one of our favorite towns, you and I. Yep. But, yeah, you look at this conference, it's going to be a rough one, I feel like.
We don't have the juice this year for the Metro Atlantic that we usually have. Like a Monmouth maybe getting like an at-large bid, or go ahead.
Yeah, it's tough because, Iona only played 14 total games. You look at 5 or 6 teams in this conference, Donnie, 300th or worse in offensive efficiency. Ooh. It's a tough conference. You got your Manhattans, your St. Peters. Look, I love St. Peters. They defend at a high level, but my God, I mean, they could literally, Donnie, be out in, the Atlantic City Inlet and not hit the ocean with the basketball. That's how bad they can be. It's really crazy. So, yeah, some of these, like, early games are going to be tough to watch. A lot of unders probably. If you've ever been to Boardwalk Hall, it's an older building. It's, been there a long time. I think Nucky Thompson probably moved around in there.
Exactly. At one point, Mike Tyson fights back in the day. They've had WrestleManias there. It is an older building. They did renovate it about a decade ago, so it's nice. And the best part about these, you can get right down courtside and watch these guys. It's a shame because I know, Jeff, we were lined up to go down and catch a couple of the games last year as well. It's a wonderful place to be. And obviously, you can get down with FanDuel in New Jersey, sit there and relax.
And once everything's opened up and we are back to normal again, you got to bring some games back to Boardwalk Hall. It's a great place to go. You could host, I know they hosted a tournament.
I remember at Temple Davidson a couple years ago. Me and you watched live with meltdowns at the end. It is a great place. I've been there multiple times. It's a pretty cool venue to watch. I go all the way back to when Temple was down there in the A10 with the Pepe Sanchez's of the world and having fun watching it. So it's a long story tradition. I actually was surprised, Jeff, they were going to be in Boardwalk Hall. I thought maybe with the whole COVID issues, they would just have it, up in Albany or just out of the way. But I love the fact that Atlantic City made a commitment, and this tournament will be there for a long time to come. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it really is. And, you ask yourself, who can win this conference, right? Because, Monmouth, the problem I have with Monmouth is really fun offense to watch. They go up and down, really high pace, but they just don't defend, and it's hard to trust teams like that in a game or two that you really need them in. Because when the rubber meets the road, they're not going to get a stop. They're also 0-4 against Siena and Iona, I believe. So that's not exactly ideal. Iona only played 14 games, but it's the normal Iona. Really good guard play. Patino's obviously, look, in 12, 13 games, 8-5. That's pretty impressive. It's not easy to get kids to kind of get into games that quickly. You usually have an off period where you struggle. You might have a bad loss, but they did a nice job. Look, I'm still going to say Siena wins. They have the best player. Manny Campers played well for them as well. They brought a kid in from, I think, Pepperdine. He's played well. I like Jalen Pickett, though. He seemed disinterested at times this year in games, but if you ask me who do I think wins this conference, I'll still lean Siena. I think St. Peter's is interesting, though, just with how they defend. Shaheen Holloway, Donnie, a really great coach. He's a guy that doesn't get enough love. He's done a really good job with that group. They are an elite defensive team. They really get up in your grill, really make you work for everything. They are just so tough so tough to watch offensively. 341, I believe. I think I remember in offensive efficiency. There's only 357 teams, Donnie. So you're running out of spots for St. Peter's. But they have the number 1 2-point defense in America. Number 1. Not Virginia, not, whoever. St. Peter's. That's how good they are defensively. So maybe they can ride that. I don't think it's out of the question. But, if you give me a pick, I'll take Siena, maybe a little flyer on St. Peter's.
Yeah, and you see a couple admins in here with Pickswise. Head over to the Pickswise Twitter channel and enter there so you can do it, right in the chat box and certainly get away from it here. Now, looking at this conference, Jeff, as we head down, because you talked about a lot of things, even into the future, keep in mind, again, the NCAA this year, you get a free year. So, and this really affects these lower level conferences because they can have senior laden teams the next year. We saw St. Peter's lose one of their players, Estrada, out to Oregon. You saw Salnave, I believe, who's now with DePaul. So these teams get picked apart, but next year might be a stronger way for the conference, but it's a one bid league. It's fun. It heads down the stretch. You got to win a few games in a row to get after it. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays out because as we look, Jeff, Iona, conference play this year, 6-3. 6-3. Look at the guys up top, 12-4, 12-6, 10-8. This is one of those teams that maybe fresh legs coming into the tournament or maybe didn't get a chance to gel. It'll be fun to see it play out in Atlantic City. If I was asking you to call it right now, who is going to be your favorite in this tournament, but who also, Jeff, can be one of those sleepers that might be hanging around down low there?
Yeah, like I said, I'm going to go Siena. I think they have the best player. I do like their starting five. I just, and I talk with some of my friends, Three-Man Weave, and all those guys throughout the season. And I think the issue with Siena was they just didn't look that interested in times. They didn't. But again, it was hard to be interested. They still were 12-4. They were still really good on both sides of the ball. They get to the free throw line, which I like. They're a good rebounding team, and they have the best player. So I'll lean with Siena. I think they're engaged. I think Maciarello has them ready to go. With St. Peter's, though, as really it would be a real shot in the dark and a flyer. They did actually beat Siena in one game, but I'll tell you, this conference, I don't know if there was a conference top to bottom that had more COVID issues than this conference. I mean, Iona didn't play for weeks, it seemed like. Just all sorts of problems. And I will continue to say the bottom of this conference is bad. I mean, they can't score. You might see some 48, 45 games. It's pretty ugly at the bottom of it.
Now, we are going to get into some games here in just a few moments. Now, there are a few games on the board looking at FanDuel Sportsbook right now. There are only a few up early in the morning, but now looks like they're filtering through. So we'll pick and choose a couple of these games. We'll hit them all, but we'll go quickly, maybe stop on some things like Jeff's boys out there with Gonzaga. But let's take a look here with FanDuel, right? It's the NCAA tournament. you're looking to get in, maybe make some money, have some fun with your boys here. Before we get into the action today, we got to tell you here, Jeff, about a way to boost your bankroll for March. FanDuel Sports customers, this is for new customers only. They can get a $1,000 risk-free bet if they sign up today. You can use it on any college basketball game or futures market throughout March, including this week's conference tournaments that Jeff and I are going to be going over. Sign up using the link down below in the description and claim this now. Customers must be 21 years old and be present in one of the legal online betting states. Where are those betting states? New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Colorado, Indiana, Michigan, Virginia, Tennessee, West Virginia, or Iowa. See full terms at FanDuel's Sportsbook website. And please remember, Jeff, always gamble responsibly, but it's conference championship time. It's March Madness. What a great way to promote it and get started on it.
I love FanDuel.
Great.
I use it every day. FanDuel is the king. It's the LeBron James. It's like watching LeBron. I light it up. That's what FanDuel is. Go use FanDuel. Go take care of go get some of those bonuses. Go get some of the great. There's some great promos and things like that, contests, things like that. Check out FanDuel. You have to.
Now, the good part about this show, Jeff, is we could riff all day. We could go live at 9 a.m. and still be on at 9 p.m. covering games. But as this show is, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, the Hoops Betting Hour with Jeff Nadu, powered by Pickswise and FanDuel Sportsbook, right? The Hoops Betting Hour, correct?
It is the Hoops Betting Hour, correct. And we'll try to keep it to an hour or right around there. But we have to get into Hoops Betting. That's the goal here. Now, again, as Donnie said, not a ton of games because it's Monday. It's kind of that travel day, getting into the big boys. And what we'll do each day, like we said, when we have a conference tournament starting, just like we just did with the MAAC, when the Big Ten starts, when the whatever starts. I love, Donnie, real quick.
Yes.
The smaller conferences, and that's where the magic is.
Passion.
The MEAC, the WAC, the Big West. Now, remember many years ago, the Big Sky? We would watch the Big Sky tournament.
Yep.
Like
South Utah getting busy. Weber State getting busy.
Idaho or and the WAC.
The Kibbe, watching games from the Kibbe Dome out there. We did it all, man.
Yeah. I remember they used to have the tournament in Reno. And people talk about COVID. There was no COVID.
Put it this way, people. If you were watching this game, which me and Jeff are lunatics, it's midnight, it's 1 a.m. on the East Coast. They don't even break for halftime. They put the camera on an empty court, and the announcers just go to take a bathroom break or get something to eat, and they just leave the live look on there. It was fantastic.
It's like the big panned crowd thing. No one in
but
there.
no crowd. No, not a single person. Oh, that's great.
And you just hear the bands, and that's it. There's no commercials at all. And if there is a commercial, it's like some realtor in Wyoming, go check out or something. But
you are a pager service. Hey, come get your pager here. Like, pager, where's this place actually at?
What are you talking about?
Yeah. Exactly. Let's get into some games here and talk about it, Jeff. We'll do a quick rundown, as I said. Let's hit some of the games on the card because, again, give a feel. And Jeff is right as it progresses because, once again, this is a March Madness show. We're doing bonus pregame prep this week, getting after it because once the tournament starts, Jeff and I are hitting every single game every day with a breakdown and our thoughts using the FanDuel Sportsbook odds and seeing if we can find an edge and help you guys out here. Let's quickly go down. I know we had a couple looks here. Elon and Hofstra early. The only reason why I'm putting it up, 6 o'clock today, so set your alarms, happy hour, getting off work. There will be a game today in the CAA. Elon versus Hofstra, Jeff, listed at FanDuel right now. Hofstra a favorite of -5. And if we take a look at the total at 138, quick thoughts on this game if you have any.
Well, I'll tell you this, Elon is playing really good basketball, Donnie. They've won 6 in a row coming into this tournament, including yesterday's win against JMU. Got a little lucky. The top seed JMU didn't have Matt Lewis, one of their star players. He's out for the year. But, give credit to Mike Schrage and Elon. They're playing good basketball right now. Do a great job on the boards, really limit possessions. I said kind of before the season, Hofstra is my pick to win it. My issue with Hofstra is, Donnie, whenever you bet them, you're always on the edge of your seat because they're really good offensively. They have 4 guards, just a big down low, and it's constant getting to the rim, trying to create. But defensively, they really struggle at times. When I look at Elon, I really just – if I'm asking who wins this game, I think Hofstra wins the game. Do I want to play Elon? What do we have a lineup for this game?
A lineup for the game?
No, a line.
Yeah, Hofstra -5, and the total is 138.5.
If I'm getting 5 points, I'm leaning Elon. Elon's playing good basketball right now. And, when you look at Hofstra, there's just not a lot of ability for them to pull away in games. I mean, Donnie, look at the games they play in. They're always within, 9 or less. There's always going to be an avenue for Elon to come in the back door or even have an opportunity to win this game. It's not going to be surprising to me with a minute and a half to go if this is a 2 or 3 point game. You just have to obviously bid away from the free throws and hopefully get a cover. But Elon's playing good basketball. If you're giving me 5 points, I would lean with the Phoenix here.
You know what the great part about this is as well as we are going over these live. Keep in mind also all day long, Jeff's going to be active here in the comment section. Obviously, it's not going to be a live chat box since we're not on live, but you can put your comments. So if you say, hey, big man, I didn't hear you talk about Wisconsin, Milwaukee, and Cleveland State, big man's going to be checking these comments. This is going to be your headquarters for March Madness action right here with Pickswise. We're going to have a lot of fun doing it. Let's sit down to some games, Jeff, here a little bit later on because I know you love this conference, and I know these are the guys that you're rooting for, and maybe this is finally the year out in the West Coast Conference. St. Mary's versus Gonzaga, an 18-point number, which a couple years ago you would have thought was ludicrous, but that tells you how good this Gonzaga basketball team is. An over-under of 143. Now, keep in mind, this is conference tournament play. We know Gonzaga is in. Somebody in this conference is going to be trying to fight to knock off Gonzaga. Good luck with that and try to get that automatic bid. Is it too many points in a tournament play? Because this isn't Tuesday in January, right, Jeff?
Right. And you look at both games that they played in the regular season, the first one was pretty close. I mean, for Gonzaga's standards, a 14-point win is not ideal. But, St. Mary's just over the kind of in the second half of the first half, basically, so the final 10 minutes, just couldn't score. They kind of got blown out and run away. Gonzaga had a really nice run to kind of pull away and they never looked back. But if you're Randy Bennett and St. Mary's, you have to kind of slog this up. You got to try to hold on to the basketball. Just hopefully get one of those games where you're efficient enough to kind of keep it close. And, this isn't, at the first time out, 16-5. Because if that happens, it's game over. If you gave me a bet on this game and said you have to play it, I would probably lean with taking the points in this kind of game. Gonzaga is obviously very good, and they can win any game by 20. It's that simple. But I'm willing to think St. Mary's presents kind of an interesting proposition. And I know in both games they were never really close, but in one they did play pretty well, and they held Gonzaga to 73 points. And the way they did that was just slogging it up, making it a half-court game, kind of lengthening possessions on offense. They're very slow. I think they're 345 in possession as far as tempo is concerned. So I don't know. It's so tough because Gonzaga, all they have to do is win. No one's going to beat this team. It's really a question of, do some teams come through their back door like BYU or St. Mary's like they normally would, or do they just kind of go to sleep and lose by 21 and it's that and move on to the next one? I think St. Mary's is good enough with Kuzi and Fotu and those kids. Gun to my head, I would take Gonzaga or St. Mary's.
You know what's great about FanDuel as well, Jeff, because, we talk about different sports books, but when you really concentrate on FanDuel, and this used to be a joke that Jeff and I used to have off the air for years, team totals weren't always in the front. Excuse me, as I choke on my beverage over here. It wasn't always up front with us. So I would say, hey, I got this team's total at 76.5, and Jeff would immediately DM me and go, where did you get that line? Nobody has team total lines. Well, you look right now in FanDuel. Yeah. First half team totals, second half team totals. When we talk about more ways to win games, Jeff, and I want to take just a few moments here to talk with you. It used to be not so long ago, you took a side, you took a total, and you lived with it. You have live in-game all the way throughout the tournament. You have a first half total, because this is why I ask you this question. Gonzaga is an 18-point favorite, but you know what you can take a look at? A first half spread. Gonzaga is only 10 points. Hey, get in, get out. Gonzaga's up by 15, coast in. Jeff and I certainly have been around the block where it's an 18-point line. You're worried about the bench players coming in and covering over the last 2 minutes. The first half, to me, is always the truest form. Or even if you're saying, you know what, I think Gonzaga might get slowed down, maybe get a little bit bored. You take a look at the team total, 80.5 tonight for Gonzaga. There's so many ways to bet these games, and obviously bet them responsibly, but you can find angles. If you don't like to lay the 18, go to FanDuel. So many more ways you can get down on this, Jeff.
Yeah, and keep in mind, I think you make a good point there. When you look at the first half team total here, it's 38.5, right?
There you go.
If you're Gonzaga, this is a team that scores 46 points a half.
Yep.
I mean, that's on average.
Johnny, you in the chat box, Jeff, I took Gonzaga first half. Hey, get up double digits, because I always like to say, well, if Gonzaga's up 6 at the break, probably a good chance they probably aren't going to cover the 18. But if they're up 13, like, oh, they could cover the 18. But you already got that money in your pocket right there.
I'm just going to say, I think they get 40. Team total over, maybe.
I love first half team totals. I love it.
That's you just have to kind of. I think the concern there is just St. Mary's kind of hangs around and starts really slow, and maybe at the 12-minute timeout you only have 14 or something. But Gonzaga can just hit you so quick and hit you so fast in waves. Yeah, that's an interesting one too. You kind of just try to get out of there. I mean, Donnie, it seems like normality now. In every game, one team has 40 at the break. Have you noticed that this year, where like first half scoring is way up? It seems like I would love to go back and look at how much better it is. But yeah, I think Gonzaga first half team total could be interesting at 38.5, maybe going over.
Yeah, Akbar, a quick question from Akbar in the chat box. College basketball, same honest effort as football in the first half. I always like to say any sport, first half is the truest form because everybody is trying to score. Everybody is trying to increase their lead. Everybody, unless you get 2,000 or 3,000 in the first half, your best players are going to be on the court. That might not be the case in the second half through foul attrition, injuries. Because again, if you have a big injury in the first half, it's going to hurt you long term anyway, as opposed to just only in the first half. So it's a good question that you bring up.
At the end of games, in the first half, you don't have the stupid foul games and the kids that don't want to give up. And
exactly,
it's a true.
They're down 7. Why don't they foul? They fouled last week. They were down 7. You don't have any of that because we're not playing hack-a-shack at the end of the first half here in college basketball.
Now again, here's a little thing for you, Don.
Oh, nugget.
When you are looking at first halves, you know what stat you have to look at?
Go ahead, tell the good people.
2 foul participation. Do you know what that is?
There you go. Yes, I do. Ken Palm has it.
2 foul participation. If you're looking at first halves, you have to look at it. It is a measure of how often a coach allows a kid to play with 2 fouls. Now, some coaches, when you look at Gonzaga, well, let's look at their 2 foul participation. Yeah. Do we have it? Does that? I don't think I have it here. Hold on.
I'll bring it up. Go ahead. Keep going. I'll get it for you.
Yeah. Get me somebody's. Okay, here we go. Gonzaga's 270th. Okay. So basically what that's telling you is if, Corey Kispert gets 2 fouls,
he's on the bench
out of the game, and you're not going to see him again until the second half. It's a measure of how often a coach is willing to let a kid play with fouls as far as then putting them on the bench. So if you have a first half, it's not ideal. You're playing with fire with a team like Gonzaga because if they get the 2 foul, they're going out. It's really a question of do you like the second unit? And for Gonzaga, it's easy. But if you deal with kind of some of these mid-majors and you have a first half and you go down and let's say a kid gets a foul, it's hard to envision you hitting that. So you're playing with fire a little bit. But 2 foul participation is something good to keep an eye on.
Now, and also what's interesting, too, is we're going to take a look at 2 more games before we get out of here today. But again, keep in mind, if you're watching on a replay right now, hit the comments down there and ask Jeff any question you want. He'll be perusing the chat box throughout the day to answer any questions, anything you have during the day, and certainly try to get that information passed through. But if we're going around and saying, Jeff needs to have plays. What are Jeff's plays today? Keep in mind, next week when the conference championships are over and March Madness is here, we're going to keep track of Jeff's plays there, obviously trying to win that tournament. Say, hey, boy, what a great investment it was just watching the Hoops Betting Hour here. Jeff won his the tournament, so to speak, and we got some good nuggets of information, so we'll have a lot of fun doing that. We don't ask for much. What do we have right now? About a little bit over 1,000 people that have subscribed to the Pickswise YouTube channel. We don't ask for much. Hit the subscribe button, notification bells on. We're going live. You're getting the information, and we are going to do this all the way through to the championship game. So let's keep it moving here. Jeff just talked a little bit about Gonzaga and St. Mary's, and Johnny, you in the chat box. Thank guys. I'm going to start looking at these team totals. Look at every avenue, because if you don't like the game, look at the first half. You don't like the over-under, but you like one side, look at the team totals, over or under in those games. Let's take a look, 9:30 tonight, Jeff. Northern Kentucky, Oakland. Taking a look at the live number right here on FanDuel. Oakland, a short dog, getting 1.5 with a total of 148 in this one.
And I also want to say, before I get into that, Donnie, what do you like? What is the chat like? What are you guys on today? I want to kind of go over that. What's the –
No, yeah, same thing also, because I know a lot of people are posting their stuff, which is awesome here in the live chat box, but don't feel the need like, oh, I didn't watch it live. I got left out. That is going to be a live box all the way through. Not the live chat box here, but the comment section here. Jeff, I like this. What do you think about this? I don't know. You know, all that stuff trades through. The goal here of the show is not to come on and have Jeff give you 75 picks and I hope Jeff wins money. It's to make you a smarter, educated gambler holder. So when then you do go to FanDuel, you say, you know what? I really like what Jeff had to say about Gonzaga game
that's
tonight.
Always
I think I can win. Yep.
That's always
the goal.
Growing thought, Donnie. I see
Correct.
people saying great stuff with 2-foul participation. That stuff, I take a lot of pride in when someone comes to me and says, hey, I learned that. Hey, thanks for telling me that. So what are you guys on? Do you have any questions? Feel free to throw out questions if you have any. We'll gladly get to them here before we wrap up. What did you ask about? Northern Kentucky, Donnie? Is that what you asked?
Oakland, short dog tonight, getting 1.5 over under 148.
Yeah, I had a Wright State, Donnie, and let me ask you, did you watch that Wright State Milwaukee game?
I did not. No. Mm-mm.
Donnie, Wright State was up 72-40.
Oh, the game last. Yes, go ahead. Yep, because I saw you on Twitter melting down. Yes, yes, crazy. Yeah,
and lost 72-48 with 6 to go, and you lose.
Yeah.
How? How is that possible? Blows me away. But here we are with Northern Kentucky, and I will tell you this: I think the Norse are the best team left. Truly. They're the one team in this conference that I think defensively is on another level. Donnie, they run a zone, and it's so smart by Darren Horn to run a zone in this conference because, you look at the teams remaining, I don't think any, as far as I remember, none of them can shoot. I mean, Oakland can't shoot. Cleveland State can't shoot. You got to make these teams shoot. You can't let them get into the teeth of the defense and create what they want to create. You've got to play zone. Throw a zone at them. Darren Horn's going to do that. They're the one team that defend in this league. And I think they've won this conference 3 out of the last 4 years. They have been the norm. They rebound at a high level. They're a pretty damn good offense as well. They can get into their offense. They can create in the half court. They could speed it up and kind of run as well. And I was impressed with what they did over the final month of the season. I think they're a play tonight that would have an eye on. Oakland is a team that under Greg Campy, poor defense. This group cannot get stops. They're another team that's going to run a zone at you, but they kind of switch it up and kind of throw around different offenses and different defenses. I look at Northern Kentucky. I think they're a pretty good play tonight. I would have some interest in the Norse. Oakland just seems like this is the end of the road for them. Jalen Moore is a great player, but I think Northern Kentucky is the best team left. I like their defense. I like Northern Kentucky.
All right, a few minutes left in the show. Let's get to some of these comments out here. BMOC, before we get to this one, Akbar, hit the subscribe button already. Thank you for certainly doing that. That is the name of the game here. And how about this? As you see right above where I'm talking, Jeff, it says a 21 plus. Please gamble responsibly. Jordan Howard in the chat box. Not forcing anything today. We eat next week. Always live to fight another day. If you say, let me just watch this week before I get into it, more power to you. As I always say, Jeff knows, less is more. Fire on what you think makes sense. If you don't like it, tomorrow there's always more games, Jeff.
That is probably one of the smartest things I've seen in a chat in a long time. That's really well said by him. You have to realize that this game and the things that we're doing here, the whole sitting in front of the TV with a piece of pizza and watching the game, and this is your money, man. Put your money in the right spots. If you don't have anything, don't force anything. That's a great way to look at it. Good for him. I'm glad that he's willing to do that. There's not
how about Jacob Powell here, Jeff? You see his comment? Anyone else rooting for Milwaukee after the Wright State game? And also leads into BMOC. Who do you like in the Horizon League tournament? Quickly.
Yeah, it'd be Northern Kentucky for me. I think they're the best team left. I will say Dennis Gates and Cleveland State have done a nice job, but I think Northern Kentucky's terrific. I really like their defense. What else do we have here?
Nuke Walker's in too. Subscribed as well, Jeff. Look, we're going to gain this traction here. It's a new channel for me and Jeff to certainly pop on here. We will grow this thing and have a lot of fun, but I'm glad you guys are popping in here to A, say hello, and B, subscribing to it, because this is going to be good stuff, Jeff, here on the Hoops Betting Hour with Jeff Nadu. And yes, I have the privilege of co-hosting it with my man.
Yeah, we're here. We're here. We'll be here tomorrow. We'll be here Wednesday. We're going to be here.
Yep.
And bring your questions, because that's what makes the show great. Involving the audience, letting us know what you're on, and we Jordan Howard, Philadelphia Eagle, great, and Chicago great in here.
There you go. Thank you, man. Love it.
He says, he loves the bankroll management stuff. One other thing, Donnie, Mike David is in here. He says something about
he's into
Greensboro and Mercer. I will tell you, Mercer is rolling. I mean, really nice work by this group with Greg Gary. 3 wins here. They're trying to do the impossible, Donnie, win 5 games in 5 days, basically. They've got Greensboro tonight. I will say though, the wins, you got a nice situation last night against VMI, who was just kind of, I think, off the high they had. Sanford didn't have anybody playing because they're off a COVID pause. Good win against Wofford, but I think they run into kind of a buzzsaw here. Greensboro is a team that really defend at a high level. They really kind of force turnovers. They're a team that really pick your pocket a little bit. But I will say Mercer's a group that handle pressure well. They've always got good guard play. I feel like if you like Mercer, you might want to just ride the hot hand and stick with them here. I don't know if this is a vintage Greensboro team. They're good defensively, but I think Mercer can handle the pressure. Good offensive team. As I said, to have the guards that can handle the pressure. I feel like, Mike, if you like the hot hand, ride with the hot hand. Why not? You're going to get a couple of points here, and you are getting a couple points here with Mercer at +5. I think it's a little high for my liking.
By the way, here, Jacob Powell, how about a great segue for our first day to end it off with? Can't wait for y'all's future shows with bigger slates. It's coming. We are going to do it real big, but this has been a fun show, Jeff.
Yeah, it really has, and I'm glad we have it. We'll be back tomorrow. Another day, another dollar, as they say, bright and early. Get your coffee ready. Get your breakfast. Come in, hang out with us. If you're watching after the show, welcome. Make sure you subscribe. It's Pickswise. We got the contest. We got FanDuel. We got all sorts of stuff. March Madness is here. Donnie, send us on out of here.
Fantastic. Thanks for tuning into the Betting Hour with Jeff Nadu, powered by Pickswise and FanDuel Sportsbooks. We'll be back tomorrow bright and early, 9 a.m. New slate of games, new tournaments kicking off. This is your home for college basketball over the next 30 days. Both me and Jeff, we are getting after it. Have a good day.